All right, great peace, great riddance to you all. A great Saturday going into a Sunday. I want to talk about this document right here, the Iroquois Constitution, um, and how it's been kind of put out of its existence. When I look at like how this document was headed for people in the Northeast, also including like Ohio and Michigan. This document is very prevalent. I notice like the more east you go, the more black communities you will see. The more west you would go, the more expansion you will see. So here are some of the names for Mohawk, Aniwais, Oandida, Koan Wadera, or you can just look at it as saying Khadijah, and the other one would be like Aaron. Let's see, Anandaga. Um, this would be like Aniatis, Anian. And I would say this would be like Aaron. This would be like Aaron. This would be like Khadijah. This would be like Wayans. This would be like I don't know, Charterje, Seneca. So when you look at these names, and then you look at their positions and their warships. So this is exactly what it is, a warship. These warships can be found in Chicago because they still have a government class that's called wardsmen, to their penal systems all the way down to their civil systems. So you have a wardsman and you have an alderman. Because Chicago is made up of wards. I think New Orleans is made up of wards too. So like these are war chiefs. So like these names never went anywhere. They just kind of been re-exchanged because you got Old Norse language, you got Old Dutch, you got Old High German, you got all these different languages that mean the same thing. So it's just that way you pronounce it and the way you spell it. More so the way you spell it, because you can spell it differently and be pronounced the same way. So again, let's read at some of these laws. Let's read some of them. I want to find one. If a lord of the confederacy should die while the council of the 5 nations is in session, the council shall adjourn for 10 days. All right, so there's your funeral procession. I haven't seen a funeral procession in a long time. You see them all the time when you're in Chicago. Someone dies, they have a big funeral procession down the street. You may see any type of thing in a funeral procession, but that's what that is. It goes on to say, no Confederate council shall sit within 10 days of the death of a lord of the Confederacy. Right, so if the three brothers should lose one of the lords by death, the younger brother shall come to the surviving of the three on the 10th day and console them. All right, so it says, if the women are not yet ready to place their nominee before the lords, the speaker shall say, come, let us go out. All right, so this Constitution is very spiritual. Some say it was the catalyst to make the U.S. Constitution. I can believe that. Um, the old the other one is like more old English. This one is more like made up of different languages that were in the Americas, um, like old French. This is definitely like more so old French. Um, like so they have like rights, duties, and qualifications of lords. So it was very organized back then. And you have to wonder, like, was these states existing back then? Was these boundary lines existing? But it's one law in here that says, like, if you have a child or something like that, his inheritance is supposed to go through the mother. Like his nationality is determined by his mother. So I was kind of taken aback by that. So when you look at stuff like that, man, it tells you on and on, like your mother is who you get your inheritance from. This is why mothers are not supposed to mix in with people who just come here from other places that you don't necessarily know. Because men travel, women don't necessarily travel. Women usually stay in one part of the country and they never go anywhere. Men, they like to um, venture out and get jobs and get careers. Um, they like to meet other men, and as a form of, like it says here, as a form of symbolism, the men in this country, they like to show the other man of other countries a way of meet through taking them to a strip club. Back then it used to be like come to a dinner or something like that, or a ball. But like we weren't having that. Like when we lived in like the wilderness, we weren't having none of that. Like you had to meet the quota, and that's why you see us today. Like when you meet an African American, like that phenotype is still the same. Like we just starting to start the mix now. For employment reasons, for status reasons, we are just starting to mix. Like I can remember like growing up, like I don't remember seeing like any and I'm gonna go into laws of immigration. I don't remember seeing like any mixed people when I was growing up, really. Unless I went to the suburbs. But like when I was in the inner city of Chicago, I didn't see anybody mixed. I always saw people who look like the people in India, like the very dark people with woolly hair. Those are the only people I used to see when I was in Chicago. Um, yeah, like if violence started, you didn't know who it was started by. You was trying to figure out like why is this person violent, but you didn't know. But like everybody knew one another. Like if you live on a certain block in Chicago, or you live on a certain area like in Detroit, or you live in a certain area like any other black major cities, um, especially like in places like Virginia. I hear this a lot. The people there, they know each other. Like their families know each other. Their mothers and mothers went to school with each other. Their fathers went to school with each other. Like my father, he came to Chicago, and my mother, like my father was from Mississippi. So that just goes to show you, like, man, they travel. Um, I know when I was like 13, my mother high school was like right down the street. Okay, Harper, Paulina, and Hermitage. Harper High School, it was right down the street. So yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna read this right here. When any person or family belonging to the five nations desires to abandon their birth nation and the territory of the five nations. They shall inform the lords of the nation, and the confederate council of the five nations shall take it cognizance of it. All right, so there's your pattern of immigration. There's your law or your statement to leave. They're supposed to meet the other nation, and we don't have the luxury of having these laws like this type of organization in these days. This is what the embassy is supposed to do. You're supposed to go to the embassy in your city, tell them I want to go to this state, or I want to go to this nation, I want to go to this country, and I want to be a permanent citizen there. I want dual citizenship. I want dual nationality. They're supposed to figure that out. But like the embassies right now, they're all ran by Europeans. I don't know any black people that work at an embassy. I don't know any black person that graduated college with a master's or bachelor's or an associate's. I don't know any black people that went to college. I don't. I went to college, but I didn't graduate. I got some credits. Hunger pains started to kick in. Bad economy under the Obama era. I had to leave. So this again, that's climate change in itself. So when you look at a bad economy, that's climate change. And we're going into a recession. I just saw on the news we're going into another recession. Just hoarding gold is a form of recession. But like we don't have any embassies. Like, where are our embassies? All right, so this one right here says, when any person or any of the people of the five nations immigrate and reside in a region distant from the territory of the five nations confederacy, the lords of the five nations at will may send a messenger carrying a broad belt of black shells, and when the messenger arrives, he shall call the people together or address them, personally displaying the belt of shells, and they shall know that this is in order for them to return to their original homes and to their cancer fires. So like the videos I'll be posting of like Pocahontas, and I have these samples playing in the background, the music, the soulful music. This is what it's talking about. This is like putting tribes together, putting people together. If your astronomy science doesn't fit with the people who are originally from your tribe, you have to split them up. You have to split them up, and you have to take them to other places where they'll be more fitting for. Like, this is where your arranged marriages come from. And arranged marriages can be just putting two cousins in the same tribe. It doesn't necessarily have to be a man putting his daughter with another man's son. All right, so this is what this is deliberating about. And I love this one right here, 73. The soil of the earth from one end to the other end is property of the people who inhabit it by birthright. The original beings are the owners of the soil which they own and occupy, and none they may hold it. The same law has been held for the oldest of times. Anahawe. That kind of sounds like orange. Like the people in India. On your way. We were on our way. Original beings. So when you even look at this, like this is written in English. So we know that the original language of the black people in America is English and derivatives of English, like tribal languages that's written in Latin. Old English to be exact. Like Chief Keef, he speaks Old English. There's a like when you go to a liquor store in Chicago, like you just go to a little a little store. They have in those stores like when you buy liquor, they have a brand of liquor called OE or Old English. So they make fun of the people who stay in these communities by basically just saying that we know your history and you buy this stuff, but you may not know your own history. So like I wouldn't be surprised if they had a candy now with a bow and arrow on it, or like some candy with a moccasin shoe on it. I know they had that with Morton Salt, the little old Dutch lady with the umbrella. So they had that. Um, and the Morton Salt, that can be found in every black community. I remember growing up eating that with the iodine in it. We use that for everything, mouthwash, everything. But like, yeah, when it says like from one end of the soil to the other end of the soil, that's what it is. The great creator has made us of the one blood and the same soil he made us, and as only different tongues constitute different nations, he established different honey grounds and territories and made boundary lines between them. All right, so this talking about how we had forests in every state, and we used those forests for our preservations, our homes, our grounds. So I'm just sitting here and I'm just thinking to myself, like, if this is all so and this is all true, we were one blood. Where did the European come from? The white blood, the Albion. Because you know, two black people that's very dark skinned can make a Caucasian person. So I'm just thinking, like, doesn't necessarily mean you have to reproduce with them, but it does mean that any person of a lighter race has Albion blood. I have Albion blood, and I'm dark skinned. So if that's the case, it just goes to show you whether you have brunette hair, whether you have black hair, whether you have blonde hair, whether you have green hair, you are one blonde hair. You are one who comes from the Albion nation, and you are black. All right, so you do have Moorish blood if you are white. Um, when you see like these rural communities where these people live at, and they're always talking about vote for Trump. These are people who had black parents at one point in time. They just never ventured out. This is why you have this Caucasian race everywhere you go in these little hidden communities. And you always see them on the highway traveling back before counties. So those that's their recognition right there. A white person has black parents from some line in their blood. They have black parents. So like two black people do make an Albion person. Um, and then that's where you get like the feather from, um, where they give their daughter a feather that she was born to an Albion origin as a sign of good luck. So that's where you get the Chicago Blackhawk symbol from. All right. Because you never see like the Negroid, the blackened Negro. You never see him like is being portrayed with like feathers. You always see him like being portrayed as like with shackles, or you always see him as being portrayed as like hardship, like working at a plant or a steel mill. All right, so here's religious ceremonies protected. Speaking of a steel mill. All right, let's read this. The rites and festivals of each nation shall remain undisturbed and shall continue as before because they were given by the people of times and useful as necessary for the good of man, good man. So every nation is always going to have like um, a rites of passage. We're always going to have that. All right. So what I wanted to carry out from here is I want to go to 1000 Go Ahead channel, and I want to look at some of his old videos, and I want to describe them because no one ever gives him his recognition. And 1000 Go Ahead, he's from Detroit. Um, he has been making videos for a while now. I remember when this came out 4 years ago. And this is like the last video he made. So I want to go to popular. All right, so this one, I'll start with this one.
Holidays, has political correctness gone too far? Take a look at this. Hallmark's new holiday sweater ornament uses a lyric from Deck the Halls. Don we now our fun apparel. They have used the word fun to replace the word gay. Critics are calling the move homophobic. Hallmark has apologized, saying it never intended to offend anyone. Is this political correctness gone too far?
Well, doesn't Hallmark make cards?
Yeah, and ornaments.
And ornaments is the problem they got into trouble with. You know?
Kevin?
Right.
It doesn't deserve a comment.
Doesn't?
It's so bizarre, stupid.
What do you guys think about political correctness?
I didn't think of that.
What do you think, Morgan? Is this political correctness gone too far?
Yeah. I mean, we have a tendency to do that anyway. I mean, you get politically correct. Stuff happens that you don't want to happen. I all of a sudden became an African. Political correctness, African American. I'm not African. An American. I'm not African. An American. I'm not African.
All right, so you can see right there, he's saying he's not African, he's American. And I would agree with those sentiments because whatever connotation you use, there's always a time or place for you to say you're American or you're African. You look at these people right here and you look at Morgan Freeman background. These were people who sell canoes. These were people who cruised cruise ships. These were people who flew satellite shippings. Satellite directs, Star Treks. These are people who flew those things in history. Bow and arrow, Bantu. This is our history, man. We were very skilled and very good at marksmanship. And you had to be if you wanted to survive. So if you're one like, you're one who's going to purely live off the land. Like you got to be able to hunt fish, catch fish, skin fish. You got to know what you're doing. You don't want to swallow a bone. You don't want to eat a particular scale. You got to know what you're doing. So here's the Mayan Connect. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't have a problem with being called African. I don't have a problem with being called American. I don't have a problem with being called African American. I don't have a problem with being called Negro. I don't have a problem with being called black. I don't have a problem with being called mulatto. I don't have a problem with being classified as none of these terms because we all are here in the present day and we all have common ancestry and we all have cousinry. So we can't lose sight of that. All right, so let's go to another one. All right, so I haven't watched this one in a while. We can go to this one. All right, so this image right here, this is pretty true. A lot of satire in it. Nothing wrong with that. And I disagree with that. This is kind of, he probably said it, he probably didn't, but Burna Boy, yeah, I would say, like, for someone who says they doesn't have culture, like, I would just say go to Chicago. Chicago holds a parade every September before school starts back. Chicago, they invented house music. They invented drill culture. And you can make drill music without being violent. So don't get me misconstrued there. Chicago, like footwork music, is kind of like the father of Afro beats. So I would say so. Like, there's parts in Africa where it's just like Chicago, where like they have the whole footworking contests and everything. Like Africa, that's a vast region, man. There's so many cultures there. But like, I understand what he's saying when he says like America is losing its culture. Like, America doesn't have cultures. I can understand that. Because, like, when you look at, like, how, like, when you look at, I would say white American culture is like Native American culture. Like, European Americans, like, they're straight up and down Native American at heart. Because they take care of the forests. They have been running the interior for, like, for how long since it's been open, like for decades on end. When the last time you saw a Negro scientist, a black scientist that's been commercialized or like put before you on television? Like we saw as a surgeon, Ben Carson, who's set on the Secretary of HUD. But like, when the last time you seen a scientist, a black scientist? Like, the closest we've seen black scientists being advertised before us that's homegrown has been like music producers. All right, so here she is.
People. They're my people, Mama, and yours too. Or have you forgotten that over in Linden Hills?
I never saw this movie.
I meant, and you know it. I mean, these streets, this house, it's so shabby and run down.
This is how poor people live.
You're not poor, Melanie.
No, Mama, you're not poor. You're the one with a husband in real estate with a 5-figure income and a house in Linden Hills. All I've got is my unemployment and an overdrawn checking account. This is all I can afford.
You could afford much more if you hadn't dropped out of college.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew you'd get around to that. You'll just never understand, will you?
Understand what, baby?
That my place is here, with my people.
Melanie, what help could you possibly be to these people while you're living hand-to-mouth on a file clerk's check?
At least I'm here, in day-to-day contact with my people. Instead of being like you and Daddy and sitting over in Linden Hills with a terminal case of middle-class amnesia.
You don't have to live in the slums to care, Melanie. You don't have to try to be something you're not.
God, I can't stand this. Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine. I'd rather be dead than be like you. Stuck-up nigger who's ashamed of being black.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. My grandfather was a black from a long line of journeymen who lived in Connecticut since the establishment of the colonies.
All right, so you can see right there when she says her grandfather was Iroquois, full-blooded, and her father, and she goes on to say like they were here since the founding of the colonies. Like, that's why I say do your ancestry DNA, because like there's so much industry here, man, and we've like stopped the industry and we've kind of like let other foreigners like come in and like run it for us. Like, I'm always excited about like looking at Negro history, because like Negro history is Native American history. Like when you look at everything to what we wore, like she has on right now, she probably sold her. One of her neighbors probably sold this, or she sold this together. Like a black fashionist could have made that. And like Iroquois, here's the mask. All right, so this is her. That was a true scene. Like this is her direct lineage, and she looks like the guy Drew Holiday from the Boston Celtics, who's all the way in California. So like even when you look at that lineage, that line, all dark-skinned people are first cousins. So like have some esteem about yourself. Like from across to Africa, like we all are first cousins. We all have common ancestry. Like these two right here are first cousins. He's in Nigeria, she's in Landover Hills, I guess that's what she called it, New York, Connecticut. So Northeast region, Nigeria, first cousins. All right, so these people right here look like my now deceased cousin, Philip Roundtree. They look just like him. I love this look because it talks about, like when you look at a person, right, and it says Chicago right here, right, and it says Iroquois, so that's probably his father's line, right, and that South Carolina line, the Roundtrees in South Carolina, because like when you look at a person's makeup and how they look, and like one of my subscribers look like this too. His name, he's in Louisiana. Like when you look at a person's look, right, it tells you like their essence from the first time you're going to meet them until the last time you're going to meet them. Like I can tell like who a person who I want to be around and who a person I don't want to be around. Like I would be right here with them in the back. Like I would be right here with them. Like if I was growing up. Like, I'm very cautious about the type of people that I allow around me and the type of people who I'm willing to be around. Because a lot of people, just their makeup and how they look, like we are portals, man. Like we're stuck in gas chambers. Like the way we look is our history and how we got here and how we were founded. Like these people founded America. They were peaceful people. Seeing how they're walking around, like, this is like Meridian, Mississippi all over again. Okay, so it says rock bottom shoes. Like, this is how my hair look right now. It looks just like this. All right. So these are peaceful people, man. All right, this looks like my cousin Philip. And when I first stumbled upon his videos, I didn't understand what the arguments were about. Where everybody was talking about like, how yeah, like everybody, like it was a fight about like who's indigenous and who's not. Like for a moment in time, I thought YouTube was called like Black Ancestry because everybody was getting on here talking about their lineage, like from Supreme Chief Holiday channel to Holber's channel, Aboriginal Powers channel, Ab Legend channel. Everybody was talking about ancestry and who black people were. Dane Calloway. So like when you look at your surroundings and who you are, that is truth. Like these used to be people at one point in time. And they probably, like when you probably die or something like that, like you have the opportunity, because again, we're all digital humans. We're all digital format. We can be changed over time with a disease app. Like there's so many apps out here that's not even downloadable, that haven't even been introduced to humans yet. Like you just don't know. Like when you die, you probably can choose like how you want to come back in the flesh as. Like he looks like a bear, Mike Brown. The Lenny Kravitz guy, well, he looks like a buffalo. Baldwin, he looks like a frog. Okay, this lady right here, this young lady right here looks like a chipmunk or a squirrel. She looks like a deer. Okay, so like, this is true. The teeth. And he says right here, stop ignoring your elders and study your environment. So true. All right, so we know about mixing and breeding, getting bred out. So he touches on that extensively. Like you shouldn't breed with people that will, breed your race out. So like with African Americans, like you can produce with any complexion and get a dark-skinned child or a caramel child or a light-skinned child. Like if you're producing with a white species or albion species, the child's not going to come out the way you predicted it to. It's always going to come out as it is, half albion and half Moorish. Or I should say half black or half Negro. All right, so here's my ancestry right here, Peruvia. Yep, I like this commercial. Right, so, and like when I look at, there's another video on here. I don't see it just yet. I don't think I probably passed it. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find it. Should be coming upon it. But yeah, there's a video on here too where it looks at like how people in Detroit are treated. This video right here, I don't like how he treated this man right here. It's somebody's grandfather, and like when you look at them, they do look alike. But it just goes to show you like he had no respect for him. And like this is Detroit, man. Like when you look at places like Chicago, like this type of treatment wouldn't have happened. Because they would have came back up there with their whole family and closed that gas station down. Detroit, it's not like that. Detroit is like every man for himself. And that's what I don't like about it. All right, so I think this one is it. Let me see. All right, yeah, this is it. And I like the music he uses in this video too. So like when you look at Haitians, the Haitians in this video, and like these people right here. These look like the people on my father's side. My father, he's from Natchez, Mississippi. He's from Jackson, Mississippi. He looks like the people on my grandmother's side, my father's mother's side. Like these look like women whose names can be like Hattie Mae. Yep. Like this woman right here, she's from Haiti. She looks like the people on my father's side. Right, so that's history. And like this being Florida, like This would be an Albion. So like white people, they always been around. It's never been a history without them. You just have to read in history where it's documented, because it's been parts in history where it's been documented where where it hadn't been documented all the time. So like just because it wasn't documented in one instance and it wasn't another instance doesn't mean it wasn't documented before. All right, so you can see her, and you can see this person. I don't know what sex they are, but like, hey, I mean, here they're trying to make Florida a Dutch colony. All right. And like, I just look at it like, how can we get back to living like Caribbeans do, like Floridians, like South Florida? How can we get back to living like Floridians? We've lost a lot of that culture, man. Like, it's almost become criminalized. Right, so this looks like my childhood friend Richard. He looks like my father. Right, yep. So this history is with us, man. This history is with us. And I'll end off on with this video right here. Jim Jones experiment. This just goes today, like people following people they shouldn't be following. You know, a lot of them lost their lives too because they were following someone who was a heretic. He was Albion and he had a little soul, so they fell for it. And this photo, this thumbnail right here just shows you like he's from Vanuatu, he's from North America, an actor, and he is from, I think, Liberia, that says. So like when you see stuff like that, it just goes to show you we're all related. We're all related. All right, so I don't know if this Photoshop or what, but these two people look alike. I'm not sure if she's mestizo, because I don't know about these depictions, these color magnets, this editorial. I don't know. But you just look at the dress and let you know like how we dressed back then. All right, so. Right, so this is indigenous wear. Right, so all of this is our history, man. This is our history. So you definitely have to have an eye for what you see, an eye for people. And that'll give you a sense of how it is, but yeah. And I like this one right here. This is like Mexican culture. He has the waves in his hair. I used to have waves when I was like 14, 15. Then I just stopped going to the barber shop once I moved. Yeah. I'll probably still have waves if I lived in Chicago, but like when I moved out of Chicago, I started to see like how money was used. Like I didn't have money, so I just started to let my hair grow out. Maurice Cheeks from Chicago. All right, Tupac, Baltimore. All right, so this is my grandmother's line right here. Virginia. All right, so this looks like someone from a rural town in Illinois. The Northwest Code. All right, so that's pretty much that. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Like, you look at all these people that look alike, even in modern times, like this one, if I can get it. You look at all these people. Here's Barbie Portis and a guy from Brooklyn, the Moore from Brooklyn. These two men look alike, and like they probably don't know each other. They probably don't know that they're related. But like, you go through the Northeast, you go to the Midwest, you go to the West Coast. Like, these bloodlines are still intact. They're still here. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future, man, because, like, with all the killing that's happening in Chicago, with all the mixing that's taking place on the West Coast, with all the struggle that's happening on the Northeast, I'm not sure what's going to happen with our coaches going forward, because everything right now is hindered on what happens to our economy. Everybody is trying to rush to get a piece of note, and they don't know what they're going to do with the note because they're not housed. They don't know what they're going to do with that note. They don't know what they're going to do with the dollar when they get out of the struggle. All right, because you can be homeless and say, okay, well, if I have this much amount of money, what would I do with it? Well, you still have to follow protocol. All right? You still got to talk to a realtor to get your home. You want to live in a mansion? I want to live in a mansion. But how can we make that happen? It's just so much, man. Like, it's just so much. And so, like, this is how the Iroquois celebrate. This is how you're supposed to celebrate Thanksgiving. All right, so let's see if we can find something on Thanksgiving. And like, this is how much a disservice that America has done to African descent. The only people you see in these photos are like fair-skinned people, like high fair-skinned people. And they live in like townhouses. You never see like an African-American Negro family like this shade all around a table celebrating Thanksgiving. Right? So, and you see like she has the real history. She has a postcard. Probably from her mom's shack. Who knows? We don't see this side of our history, man. We don't see it. Like, why isn't that we don't see this side of our history? This looks like a fruit of the loom tagging. Like when the last time a person wore a Fruit of the Loom shirt? Like from the 90s. A vintage. Like we just don't see this side of our history no more. All right, so this looks like my cousins. Flickr, you know, good website. You can learn a lot of things, see a lot of things. All right, but you just don't see that history, man, and it's unfortunate because everyone should be represented in history. Like our history shouldn't be held back. I'm not talking about like French people or old French people. I'm talking about Negroid. Like why are Negroids not seen as why are there no photos of Negroids in America represented? It's like having Thanksgiving. These are sponsored stock photos. I mean, I don't know anyone who lives like this. I probably stumbled upon some family members who used to live like this in the 90s. But like I don't know anyone who lives like this anymore. Who has a dining room, full-scale kitchen. I just don't know. You know, so but that's the dream though, like to have a brick house and to live by something like this. This looks like Chippewa territory and like near Grand Rapids, Michigan. Where you got the rock creeks and the tall cedars, steady flow of water. They live next to a brick bungalow, a house that has a dining room and stuff like that. That was the dream, right? So we only see our history when it's written in like characters. Like why is it written in the character? Like why we don't see the actual people? So these people look like the Rondos from Kentucky. That strong Haitian bloodline. All right, so these are French-speaking people. French Quarters, New Orleans, Mexico, California. Like these lineages, like they never die off. So you always going to see yourself in history. Always going to see yourself in history. Right, so I'll go ahead and get ready to close out. Any thoughts, do leave them in the comment section. Because this right here this Constitution is something that everybody needs to get familiar with. Because it tells you how to raise a family. Like, people be wondering, like, how do I raise my children? It's like, pick up a book. Like, go to the Constitution, the old constitutions. Read the treaties so you can inform your children on what not to do and what to do. Like, have them read them treaties. have your children, read the Constitution. Like this Iroquois Constitution, that is your blood right. Like you're indigenous to America. Like you need to read that stuff. Like you need to read it because this is what's going to tell you where you need to go and where you need to be headed. Like a lot of our people are hyper emotional. They're very violent. Like you can't tell them nothing. So it's like a lot of our stuff gets stuck in emotion and like we never get to move. We never get to go anywhere. And this is why we always end up in the muck. It says right here, when a dead person is brought to the burial place, the speaker of the opposite side of the cancel fire shall bid the bereaved family cheer their minds once again and rekindle their hearts to put their house in order and once again in the brightness, for darkness has covered them. He shall say, and the black clouds shall roll over away, and that the bright blue sky is visible once more. Therefore shall there be peace in the sunshine again. So this is be like a eulogy. So he's saying like a family member should give a eulogy. Like the Iroquois Constitution, man, like we do this every day, like, but it's like a lot of people just don't want to have kind spirits. It's like whatever they do, they got to do it in belligerence. They got to do it in bad faith. They have to do it where they're going to pay for it in the future and in the hereafter. This is why I kind of fell out of love for black people. Right? Because, a lot of black people, they don't have purpose, man. Like, and I sound like a conservative right now, but it's true. As much as I love our people, it's a fact that, our people can be hard-headed sometimes. They don't want to see the next person inspire. They don't want to see the next person expire. Or I should say aspire, not expire, but aspire. They don't want to see the next person gather a victory. They don't want to see the next person win. Right, so another book I would say go get out and read is Arnautis. I would say get this book right here if you can find it. It has a lot of history in it, and I love this image right here because it just goes to show you, like, when you see her standing on top of two albinoids with tails, like, it just goes to show you that these are her children. She had to teach them what favor and what favor was not. You see, you got right here the guard dog chowing at the two men. And look at what we had on. We had different regalia on, different hats, different crowns. Here's a white woman with a bow and arrow and with a Dutch skirt on. So this is along that northeast line where you got a fortress, Amsterdam, Jacob van Moors, 1671. I wouldn't want to live in history. I always want to live in present and the future. But history has a tale, and we need to know it. Great piece.